which takes us to stage 2, which is incubation. Sleep on it, right? Sleep on it. Again, which is a crucial part of the creativity and innovation process. If you don't build this bit in, it's very challenging. If somebody just said to you now, we're going to have an innovation meeting now, go, come up with some ideas. It's hard. But if you just like have it there, and you sleep on it, and you let it kind of like percolate away in the background, right? So you do that, you've got a focused question in your head. And here's a great way you can work. I don't know about, when you're going on holiday, it's a pain, isn't it? Because you have to like get all your stuff done and get your desk cleared. And then when you come back, there's going to be a pile of stuff waiting for you. So what you can do is, have one of these. These are good. Most people probably have them, yeah? But I think you should have one of these. A not-to-do list. And so what you do, this is what I do, just before I go on holiday, a couple of days before, I have my not-to-do list, right? What are the things that I don't want to actually consciously have to do, but I want my unconscious to just incubate and think about? And I'll ask myself some focused questions. Can you think of a great title for a book? And let me know when I get back from holiday. And then when you get back from holiday, you go, so? And it goes, Chicken Soup for the Soul. That's how that title came up, right? It's a bit like this. I don't know if you know how Guatemalan Indians do this. This is how Guatemalan Indians do it. It's called worry dolls, right? So what you do before you go to bed at night, you get one of these, right? There's loads in here. Don't know what kind of a warrior you are. I bet you didn't know you could come in and be cured of worry for the rest of your life, did you? Here's the solution. Drug-free, right? It's about 8 in here, but so you get your little worry doll, right? Night before, and you go, listen, I'm right concerned. Can these rhinos replace Yestinaris? I need a pay rise. Do you think I'll get one? Right, etc. Right? Tell each doll your little problem. You put them back in. Right? Put them up to the side of your bedside table in the morning. Get them out. What do you think then? Of course they can. Ben Walker, he'll be brilliant. Yeah, you will. Right? Same process. Get the idea. Classic. You've probably done that. You've probably done that where someone's been like just revolving around, but you haven't been aware of the process. Just been there, and then suddenly, because when you do that and you've done your not-to-do list as well, great way of working because it's so easy, isn't it? It's programming. You come back, sit at your desk. Then what happens is step 3, doesn't it? When you've done all that, that's when you get that like eureka. That's when you get one of these, isn't it? Ding! See, in advertising, we never sat there. We could never have got the light bulb without doing the first 2 steps. The information, the incubation. That's why we'd have a lot of briefs on the go that we weren't necessarily working on, they were just, and the deadline wasn't approaching. And as the deadline got nearer, that kind of started to force the ideas out. But if you miss out the incubation, but then you get eureka, don't you? Now, the challenge with this, and this is what we also call green light thinking, the challenge with illumination is that the thoughts are fleeting, right? So when you have that illumination, if you don't capture it, it'll light go. So you have to like be careful with that. So Edison again. Another way to think about illumination, there's this thing called alpha state. Have you heard of this? So this is that state you're in just before you go to sleep. So you're not quite asleep, you're not quite awake, right? Or when you wake up in the morning, and that's when your brain tends to bake. Have you noticed? So you tend to have eureka moments when you're in alpha state. I mean, your favourite places. A lot of people have great ideas in the shower, don't they? I don't know what it's her again. It's a dreamy woman, right? Dreaming about. No, but you're in the shower and you go, hey! And it's really frustrating then because it's like, oh no! So I think you need to invest in a dry wipe waterproof board. I'm serious. If that's where you have, a lot of us, you just jump in, you sit off and you go, oh yeah! And you think, oh damn! Dictaphone time, right? So you need to arm yourself with tools to capture your illuminations, or else to go, right? So Edison, right, he identified, first of all, being in a stimulated environment that put him in alpha state, and it was being in a rocking chair from a big hot fire. And he noticed, he didn't call it alpha state, but he noticed when he was in that rocking chair from this big hot fire, just before he drifted off, he'd have like a belting idea for a new invention. Then he'd fall asleep and forget it. He got really frustrated with this. So then he's going, a few weeks after this, he's going around a factory that made these big, enormous, heavy metal ball bearings. And he said to like the foreman, can I have one of those ball bearings? Sure, Mr. Edison, yeah, gave him this ball bearing. And then what Edison did was, deliberately got in a stimulated environment in terms of going into alpha state, got in his rocking chair, right, in front of the hot fire, had the ball bearing in his hand. Started to drift off. Just had a great idea. Fell asleep, dropped the ball bearing, woke up, wrote down the idea. Keith Richards, you know, Ding Ding from the Rolling Stones. He used to have a big reel-to-reel cassette tape player in his bedroom. And the story goes, he woke up one morning with like a severe hangover and God knows what else, you know, being like on the town again, you know. And he's wondering about it. And hours later, he thought, I'll just turn the tape on, maybe record something. Turns the tape on and just hears the opening riff for I Can't Get No Satisfaction, followed by 30 minutes of snoring. So, you've got to capture the illumination. Fourth stage, integration. That's called making it work, execution. What we might call red light thinking, which we're going to discuss briefly in a minute. So if I said to you, I've got this great idea, I'm going to do a painting of a woman smiling. You'd go, yeah. But like if it turned out to be a bit Mona Lisa, but you need to be executed, don't you? And the biggest challenge with innovation is we come up with all these kind of woofy, fluffy, lots of flip charts. It's like, how do we make it work? And I think you need some process there too, right? You have to make it work. Otherwise you get FTI disease. You know what FTI disease is? Failure to implement. Now at the minute I think you've got two cultures. I think you've got Walmart, who are very strong at like basic, like oh, step, 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 step. And by the way, I think you're great, by the way, because if you see an idea like Nicky, Nick, most of theirs are good, right? Even before you kind of join together. And then we've got you guys, which is like throw it in the air and see what falls down. And this process is trying to find some middle ground, I think, between those two, yeah, that we can work on together. So that it's not just throw it up in the air, but we need some red light thinking as well. We need some way of making it work. That's the key stage as well. We need to have some time set aside for that. And last but not least, illustration, which is you have to sell your idea. See, when I worked in advertising, there were two types of people. There were people who were like genuinely original. I mean, original thinkers, which by the way is rare in any profession, and particularly in advertising. And then there were people like me who were kind of workmanlike and kind of nicked ideas from various places, put them together, changed them around and whatever. But these people who were brandingly original usually weren't very successful. Because do you know where all their ideas ended up? In the bin. And I was so much better salesman than them. I could sell my ideas to people who could make decisions around them. Right? So your challenge is to say, do I have good selling skills as well? How do I get support for this little initiative to go off and do this thing? Having the idea alone won't stand on its own. You've got to have a plan for that. You almost need to, if you're having a brainstorming session and you come up with some ideas, you might want to brainstorm how you're now going to sell those ideas. By the way, a great way of doing that is invite the boss to the brainstorming meeting. Right? If you think ahead. Because if they're there, they go, oh, well, I'll support that. I was there when it happened, right? But if they're not there, you've got a challenge, haven't you? So you have to think, how am I going to illustrate this idea to somebody? How am I going to sell it? How am I going to sell it on? Okay. Fourth idea. So that's the process, right? Let's just practice it one more time, though. Just fell on me, right? Now we're going to go for real speeding now. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to do that so you can't cheat. Right, are you ready? Just see how you can do it really quick. Just go with confidence, right? 5 eyes. Are you ready? 5 eyes, this process. Up to 3, here we go. So, right. Information, incubation, illumination, integration, illustration. Very good, very good. So what is the next idea, right? What's the next idea? The fourth idea. You've got to change the way you actually think. How do you change the way you think?
I have no idea.
I'll tell you, right? Now, have you heard of Edward de Bono? Have you heard of it? Yeah. Claims to have invented lateral thinking, which I think is a bit of a conceit, because I think we all do lateral thinking. He just called it that, right? Now, I wouldn't recommend particularly any Edward de Bono books, because I'm not an intellectual, and for me they're too intellectual, too complicated. We have these ideas like, I think it's 5 or 6 thinking hats, and you come across this, some of you might have done. It's dead complicated, I think. So I think rather than get to that part, we could do later maybe, but let's just start with 2 simple ideas about thinking. And a good way to do that is if you just think about traffic lights. So you think about a green traffic light and a red traffic light. Now this is I don't know, have you ever had that experience maybe in town? It's right nightmare in town in a minute, right? But you know, you get into the set of lights just at the wrong time. And it's kind of like green, red, green, red, green, red. It's a bit sick-inducing. That's how most people's thought process works. Green, red, green, red. So if you think about what does green mean, go, and red means That's two different styles of thinking. So green light thinking would be anything goes, no judgment, on and on and on. And red light thinking is, let's just stop and decide what we're thinking at. But what happens is, somebody comes up with a green light thought, and then we immediately think about it, maybe green for a bit, and then we go to red. So they go, so I'll give you one now. I thought it'd be really interesting, right, to see who the fastest runner in this room is. So I think we have to be fast with innovation, aren't we? So what we've actually had printed is some green tops and some red shorts, right, to remind you of green and red light thinking. And we're going to go for a run round car park, right, when I finished. Now, as I was saying that, part of your green light's probably going whatever, and then the red light's going, you've got to be kidding. Now, have you ever had this experience? You go see your boss in a really excited state and you go, I've had this fantastic idea, and they use language like, oh, we tried that before and it didn't work then. Right? Or it won't work round here, and all that stuff. And everybody who does the red light to you like that, does it fill you with inspiration and enthusiasm to go rushing back with loads more ideas? So it'd be a rule. We had a rule in advertising. If anybody came to you with an idea, first rule was you had to say 3 ways in which it was great or could be improved before you could say what was lousy about it. That's good rule, isn't it? But the challenge is most of us are red light thinkers because red light thinking is very much the left side of your brain, which they trained you to do at school, right? And green light is the right side, which is underdeveloped at school, right? A good way of thinking about this, by the way, as a metaphor would be if you think Mr. Spock and Captain Kirk, right? So Mr. Spock is, you know, it's illogical, Captain, isn't it? Captain Kirk's like, let's just do it, see what happens, right? So I've got a little quiz for you, just so you can kind of see how good you are judging the difference between green and red light thinking, okay? So here's a quiz. So you just shout out either red or green as an answer to these questions, right? Which type of thinking is this? Right, so you ready? Here's the first one. Is the idea practical?
Red.
It's a logistical nightmare.
Red.
That idea just feels right.
Green.
Throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Green.
I've tried that before and it didn't work.
Red.
How are we going to get a llama to do the river dance? How are we going to get it? It's red, isn't it? Because we're getting into practicals, right? Whereas, there must be a way to get a llama to do the river dance.
Green.
Picture this.
Green.
I dread to think of what might happen. But it's something that's never been done before. Red. Could be green as well to some degree, yeah? No. No, red. Kenny Everett, right, was a bit creative. He once put a sign on the BBC executive's door and it said, person in charge of saying no. Yes.
Green.
Why not?
Green.
What research do you have to back up this idea?
Red.
What are the implications?
Red.
Red, yeah. We don't know unless we try.
Green.
It might go wrong, but it might not.
Green.
2 + 2 = 4.
Red.
2 + 2 = fish. Let's arrange a brainstorm to develop ideas.
Green.
And red. Green and red. Because you need both, right? So you're going to need some help with that, aren't you? Because you've been trained for years. So you probably this little thing. You've got your card. So here's the idea. Let's say you say, right, we're going to explain to somebody else who is in it here, first of all, the 5 ideas. The 5 ideas of creativity. We're going to do that, and we're going to explain what these 5 I's mean. And then we need to understand that the 2 stages that we're talking about now, illumination is green light thinking, and integration is red light thinking, and there's a place for that, and I'll talk about that in a minute, right? But the challenge is, you say, right, this is a green light meeting, guys. It's only 10 minutes standing up or walking round, right? And you say, let's get some llamas and teach them a river dance, right? And somebody goes, you can't do that, it won't work. And you go, first booking, right? Bookable offence that. This is a green, so I have to train you, right? And then a bit later they go, and you go, okay, so matter of practice. Now, the other thing you can add to that, which I think is effective, is you can even get yourself one. You can get some Asda ones, right? So you're in the meeting. Guys, can you just explain? It's a green light meeting. It's only 10 minutes. Anything goes. We're looking for quantity, not quality, right? So no judgment. We don't care, right? And you say, and how you get that going, by the way, if you're driving, is you say the most outrageous thing first. Let's all come to work naked. That'd be good. That'd save money. And somebody goes, that'd never work. Right? So train yourself. So that's the purpose of this, because we can make these. You know, talk about stimulating the environment. People who aren't here, we can tell them about this, can't we? Best way to learn anything is what? Teach it to somebody else. So why don't you just take a moment sometime a day and explain that card to somebody else, what it means, and explain green and red light thinking. And the other thing you could do is, I know you tried this before with hats with prime time, but you could come up with other ways as well, couldn't you? So you could say, this is a green light thinking session, right? Anything goes, and we need to remind ourselves, oh, this is a green light area. Imagine if you went all day without judging anything that occurs, rather than going green, red, green, red, green, red. Would you get a different result at the end of the day? I don't know, but it's a fantastic experiment. Most people can't go more than 30 seconds, can they? So I'm not just talking, I think, here about within brainstorming sessions. I think as an organisation, I think you're already pretty green, to be honest, you know, in terms of that way of thinking. But I think you could probably do more, even more green thinking, be more open to it, right, than perhaps you already do. Another way to think about it is a question. This is just a little technique, because I haven't got time to give you loads of techniques today. But a little technique to get some good green thoughts is to do the opposite. So let's say you had a question, a focused question. How can we have even more fun at work? And you're brainstorming that green light. That can be challenging, can't it, if you're already doing stuff. So it might be better to say, how can we have a really miserable time? Capture those thoughts, then do the opposite, right? Then do the opposite. That's why I wrote this book, which is called How to Be a Complete and Utter Failure in Life, Business and Everything. 39.5 Steps to Lasting Underachievement. Because I thought if I write another book on success and it's on the shelves in the bookshops, how's it going to stand out? So I thought I'd do the opposite, right? Now it's actually all about success, but it's just got a nice title that works. And I did it by asking that question, right? So you might want to do that. That's a good way of being green light thinking. So you do all the green light thinking, then you have to go red, which is execution. That's when we say, let's get all these ideas now and just see what we can make work. That's the practical stuff. By the way, when you think about the process of a brainstorming session, what you're looking for is a lot of green and then a bit of red at the end. Or maybe a lot of green and a bit of red the next day when you've allowed it to incubate a bit more, right? Have you heard of a company called, you might have done, Tony, Stu Leonard? Have you heard of these people? One supermarket in America, yeah? They have two rules. The customer's always right, and the second rule says, see rule 1, right? And what they do is, they get customers, as they come through the door, and they say, do you shop at Stu Leonard's a lot? And they say, yeah, and they profile them. They say, well, look, we're having a focused brainstorming green light session, right? And we reckon you're the best people to invite to it, and that's the best people you could invite. And I'm sure you do that to some degree already. And they get them along, and they say, we'll do your shopping while you're here, right? And pay for it as well, if you can just contribute. And they get them in a room, and they say, how can we improve things? And they've had things like women saying, and what one woman said, well, listen, the thing that really frustrates me is how you sell strawberries. Because I've got quite a big family, and we get them in punnets. And like 1 punnet is not enough, but 2 punnets is too many. And we waste half of them. Why don't you just sell strawberries loose in a big pile with a big shovel in the bag? Like you do other fruit. So Stu Leonard, they just test it. They don't decide is it good or bad. They stay green with it and test it. Just test out the red stage. Will it be practical? Can it work? So that was at 9 o'clock in the morning. Do you know how long it took them before they were selling fresh strawberries loose? 15 minutes. Right? But they just had this much parachute, right? Just this much. And just measured it. And they had a really big scoop. And people were buying even more. The sales of strawberries went up 24%. So again, when you have a bit of innovation, just test it in that little kind of controlled way. But do it quick. That's how you stay out of the competition. If it has to go through so many boards and so many, it becomes a camel, it's no good. Then the other challenge, before we have final idea is, so you've got loads of green light ideas, say on a flip chart, but the challenge then is, we go, okay, let's go to integration stage. Red lights on, guys. Here we go. Look down. Come to work naked. That's crazy. Cross it out. Right? And then we don't actually make any progress, do we? Get failure to implement, right? We don't get any experimentation going on. So sometimes you aren't the best person. What I'm saying is, like in the strawberry example, you aren't the best person to make the decision. The best person to make the decision is the customer, sometimes, in a trial way. But the other way is, if you are going to make the decision, is to say, okay, We list all our ideas down here, but before we even have the brainstorming session, as a group, and for people who aren't going to be at the brainstorming session, so we get acceptance from the decision makers, we agree some criteria in advance about how we're going to judge our green light ideas, yeah? In advance of the meeting, though. So, for example, if we were talking about how could we increase the use of IT by 25%, we could have some criteria about judging the ideas that came up against that, couldn't we? Like, two obvious ones that usually come up are time. Well, whatever idea we come up with, we've got to be able to implement in the next 6 weeks. That's the agreed criteria. Cost, those two are usually in there. It's got to cost this much. We've got to budget off. We've developed maybe 3 or 4 criteria. Then we can go across and go, well, no, no, yes, yes, no, 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 yes, no, yes, no. Get the idea. And you might just get one of those more crazy, unusual ideas coming through. The other thing you can do at that stage as well is to say, how can we adapt, change? So there may be something in the, okay, how can we leap off from coming to work new then into some area that's more practical against that criteria? So that'd be another key thing. So about 10 minutes to go. So here's our last and final 5th idea for a brighter future, right? And it's this. Create a culture that's creative, a creative culture. Create a creative culture. So how do you create a creative culture?
I've no idea.
Good man, you get the hang of it now. Well, I think there's a couple of things about that. I think, first of all, innovation has to be an institution. It has to be cast in stone. It has to be, this is how we do things around here. It's one of our core values. It's not something we play at now and again. Because I tell you what will happen otherwise. First of all, if you don't change your beliefs that you're not creative, nothing will happen. But once you've done that, and you leave this room rocket-powered, right, and you think, let's go do some stuff, if everybody else isn't on board, that's really frustrating, isn't it, again? Now, I've done work in other companies, and I'm the first to say it hasn't worked. Not because the sessions we did like this were effective, but because once they got out of this environment, it was like people just did all that red light stuff to it, and it wasn't held as important enough. People just talked innovation, but they didn't really do it. So I think you need to make it an institution. And then I think you also, as well as make it an institution, you have to be systematic. So you have to have processes. Where are we at? Are we at information stage, guys? Are we at incubation? You have to have processes. You have to have techniques, green, red light thinking. You have to have all that. You have to make it systematic. But maybe a little thought that we could all do. This is my action step for you. And if you've got a piece of paper, write it down now. Think of 2 areas that you can identify in your role where you can apply some innovation. So I'm writing down. Just think of 2 areas in your role where you could, just from the little you know so far, just think, where, maybe like Dyson, where you think there's got to be a better way, or maybe where we've already got a wow and we think that's become a bit kind of a how now, and we want it to be. Find up. So just write, because if you don't write it down, you won't do it, will you? But everybody got something written down, or at least if you haven't got something to write down when you leave here and you get back to your desk or whatever, capture it, because I've no doubt Julia will be going around going, what were your 2 things? Right, no doubt that'll happen, right? But let me give you another little viewpoint shift, paradigm shift. Think about the 2 things you've written down. Think about the 1,000 things we can do 1% better. I think if you look at the customer journey, say, or you look at anything you do, there's a process, isn't there? Look at some areas in that process where you can apply innovation, where it doesn't have to cost anything. Let me give you a couple of examples from the world of hotels. I do quite a lot of work with hotels, right? Now, if you look at the customer journey in a hotel, you look at some of the things they have to have, right, in that journey, almost by legal requirement, just like you. And one of them would be, the thing that you hang on your bedroom door at the hotel, which says, do not disturb, please make up my room. But you kind of have to have that, don't you? Well, there's an area where if you're creative, you can apply innovation. Because the basic one usually just says that, doesn't it? Do not disturb, please make up my room, black and white. And I've seen some that are dead fancy if you spend time in hotels, full colour, like the Hilton, photographs, but it still says, do not disturb, make up my room. The best one I ever saw, it was just black and white, it said, do not disturb, we are having too much fun. Right? The other side it said, please make up our room so we can trash it again. Do you know what I mean? Now there must be areas, and one place I think you can apply innovation is, where can we talk to people like the people? Rather than a piece of information. I mean, when people send stuff out, when you send off stuff on Amazon.com or anything like mail order, you usually get a little thing, don't you? Amazon are quite good, but you'll send some mail order and you get a thing and it'll say, "Dear customer," which is a really good friendly greeting. They've got all your details, or they haven't, but they don't refer to you by name, right? They say, "Dear customer, regarding the enclosed goods, please check that your order is correct and that we've got the right amounts and this, that and the other. And if it's not, you need to return them undamaged within 10 working days." Now they might as well be saying, "We know you, Steve. You are a lying, thieving cheat. Right? We know you're going to try and rip us off, mess us about. Don't you even think of it." Now what if, instead of that, there was a note that said, "Dear customer, please check the enclosed da-da-da-da, make sure that the order's all that, right? If it's not, you know, you can give us a call. Or just call us if you feel like shouting at somebody and you're having a lousy day." Right? So you can take information. Doesn't have to cost much. So when you think about those two actions, don't think it has to be some big idea. What part of the process can we just improve, right? And here's the final thing that goes with everything we've talked about, and it's this. It's my favourite definition of innovation. You know, we talked about what is innovation. And this is it. This is what innovation is. Innovation equals stimulation times thinking power divided by fear of failure twice, or squared, rather. So stimulation times thinking power divided by fear of failure squared. What does that mean then, that definition? Well, we've talked about stimulation. If we're going to be innovative, we have to be in a stimulated environment, we have to stimulate ourselves, we have to have the belief that we can do it. Thinking power is largely green and red. See, don't think that to be innovative you have to be intellectual, far from it. In fact, I think naivety is a good thing, if you want to be innovative. Best people you can ask are people who are new to the organisation, aren't they? The sort of people who go, "Why do we do that?" And we always go, "Because we always have." Right? We were working with a company and they had one of these dockets that followed the particular product all the way through the factory, and it was like, you know, white top copy, and then pink, yellow, blue. And like one of us said, "Why do you have this?" Well, it follows the job, tracks the job through the factory. And we followed the job, and at every stage we figured out, well, they could probably just have a white piece of paper and it'd still be fine. So we said, "Why don't you just try it with the white bit?" So they reluctantly did, right? And it was fine. But there was a guy who'd worked there 25 years, and when it came to his part of the process on this white thing, he always used to write in the top right-hand corner, "This used to be the white, pink, yellow, blue document." Couldn't cope with change. Couldn't cope with change. So thinking power is just having different ways of thinking, being open and then being judgmental. By the way, it is not wrong. I must make this key point before we close. It's not wrong to have red light thinkers, is it? We have to make decisions now and again. We have to be judgmental now and again. Let's just be clear which light's shining at any moment. So if you're at the coffee machine and you say to somebody, "Did-da-did-da," and they go, "Oh, well, you can't," it won't be appropriate to go, "I think that's very red light." Because it might be totally appropriate. They might need to make a decision. So that's the deal with it. So value red light thinking. That's what makes you a secure company, because you've made good decisions. But do more green light thinking. Do more green light thinking. But the thing that's going to stop us after this session, when you leave in the next 2 minutes, I think it's going to stop us, the biggest block to innovation and creativity in any organisation is fear of failure, which is why we need the belief called "no failure, only feedback," right? The challenge I have for you is to be courageous out there, not just in here. To value the contribution you can make, to be able to go up to people and say, you know, "I've had an idea," and they say, "It's okay." Because if you think about it, the final point will be this really, if you think about it, creativity and innovation is the same as change, isn't it? You know, when we first come up with a new way of doing something, I don't know about you, but it's very uncomfortable, isn't it? Especially when we're testing it, selling strawberries loose, whatever it might be. But after a while, have you noticed it becomes dead comfortable? Like your watch. I mean, maybe already in just an hour and a half, it's comfortable. What if you kept it on that wrist all day? Right? But you know what you need to do, don't you, once it's become comfortable? Put it on the other wrist, right? So that's the only way you're going to stay ahead. So that's why I've had a ball up. There's lots of food for thought for you there, things to take away, terminology you can share. And if I was to ask you this question now, it's a rhetorical question, but if I was to say, so now do you know how to be more innovative and creative? You know, I'm fairly optimistic that you would reply this.
I have an idea.
Right. So we're going to finish. We might as well finish just. Let's finish with the 5 eyes, shall we? And then that's the end of it, right? So you ready? We'll all stand up, right? See if we can do it from memory. 5 eyes. Remember what the eye ever go? And then first thing you could do is go teach this to somebody else. I think you're crazy, won't they? Really good, right? So make a commitment. Imagine if one person in this room taught it to one other person. How long would it take it before everybody in the building would know it? I don't know, but then you can let me know. We're going to go for as fast as possible this time. Real fast, like faster than you have to chat. Ready? After 3. 1, 2, 3.
Innovation, incubation, illumination, integration, illustration.
2 more times, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Innovation, incubation, illumination, integration,